Who drew those paintings?
Yeah, I would like to know that also.
Yeah, one two in the back. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're fetching or sharp paintings of a cat.
What's going on here? Okay, we are live. Waiting for it to catch up here.
Not talking, are you?
I'm not talking right now. I am now.
Okay.
I wasn't talking. I was just waiting for everything for YouTube to catch up here. So there's a couple of people in the room, so I'm just telling everybody hello. So tonight we're going to go over scrapbook 197 with Lee and her chase story. Her scrapbook is 197. Say hello, Lee.
Hi. Hello, Lee.
Give So anybody in the chat, make sure, let me know that you can hear Lee, okay? I'm just waiting for somebody to say, yeah, we can hear. Because that's important. So I assume that they can hear you. Nobody's actually verified that. So we'll see. So I've got to share this real quick. Sup, Brian? Everything's good. Now let me get so I haven't hooked up my other monitor as of yet. So I'm trying to navigate my windows. So I'm hoping soon I will get my second monitor hooked back up because I have a new computer now. So let me share my screen. Okay.
All your knickknacks.
Oh, my knickknacks. Yeah, that's a lot of shot glasses, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Yes, it is.
I didn't I so all these shot glasses is things that I've every time we go somewhere, I collect a shot glass. Some of those were given to me like from my mom or my sister or my daughter has gotten me a couple or my son.
I'm getting a visual image of you and Jill on vacation.
Oh no.
Or shot glass.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely it's one of those things that's like, man, do I really want to get one? Oh yeah, I go it. You got to get one. If you're collecting, you got to get one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but like some of them, my mom bought me. I don't even know. Sometimes I don't even know where they come from. Like they'll just be like a random one that she picked up somewhere.
I'll have to look around for some for you guys.
All right. So here I want to start reading this, Lee. And if you want me to stop, you just tell me to stop, okay? Okay, this is your story. So the scrapbook date is January 22nd, 2019. A more human side of the chase. I think that's really cool that Forrest took your story and ran with it because like we were talking earlier before we went live, is I think Forrest enjoyed these stories. Now, he didn't share all of them, but he did share some of them.
I
And
think I don't know if you know how the chase started out fun and then it got to be kind of contentious, and I think maybe I just happened to write him at a time when he was kind of grateful to have something that had nothing to do with people battling each other, you
yeah,
know. But
right, right.
and he loved dog. He loved dog.
Yes, he
So
did. Yes, he did.
yeah,
He for sure did. So it's kind of nice that he, paid homage to you and your dog here. So it starts out. Normally I don't read long emails.
yeah. This is what you call a howler.
But these three, what's that?
Lamb.
Yeah. But
Oh,
these three came to me with the flavor of a different personality. Lee, who is from New York, was drawn to the chase by the desire for companionship with a friend who had no rigid expectations. This is their story, F. So, he's basically, you had a companion, and your friend had no expectations. He was just along for the ride.
that's right.
If you found a treasure, he wouldn't even know it.
Exactly. He was happy no matter what we did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no matter what.
So it starts out, I guess your email starts out, Dear Mr. Finn, I have written you before, and I feel like you have become a great friend of mine, even though I have not had the pleasure of meeting you. I hope you won't mind if, in the future, I address you as Dear Forrest. You have become very dear to me. So it sounds like you had written him before, sent him some emails before.
Very small searchers, we just constantly barrage him with emails.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I had written him a few times before, but I was telling you before, I think I used to have a really exciting life at one point, and then at some point, like it happens, I think to too many of us, it became kind of dull. I don't even know quite when it became dull and how
Right.
did that have happened, And when this chase came along, it just revitalized everything. I feel like he got me back awake again, and I've never gone to sleep again since. And just, I will forever, I owe him so much. I cannot believe how much I owe Forrest Fenn for just reviving my whole life and just giving me like a second life again. And you think, what, how did you ever lose it? How did, what point does that happen to you where job and work and everything starts getting you down? And so I get I just can't understand people who are upset at Forrest. It's like, didn't you get out of it what I got out of it? Because
Right.
to me, is my dear Forrest, and he always will be.
Yeah.
What he did,
I agree.
Can't even describe it. Yeah.
So, kind of, this is your story, but to kind of play off that, my story's just a little bit different. But what I found out, my chase started out a little bit different, but I felt like something told me I needed to be doing it. I didn't know what it was or anything, but once I got into it and realized what I was doing and what I found and what I ran into, where I was led to, then once that part was done, then I was able to appreciate the person that Forrest was, and realized that he led quite a life, and he didn't ask for people to like him, for the most part. I mean, he considered everything that he had done in his life. I mean, nobody really knew of him. You know, he knew a lot of people, but nobody really knew him.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we didn't know him.
Yeah.
Somebody did, because he revitalized Santa Fe. I think he
Uh-huh.
was really instrumental in that. So, but yeah, we didn't know him, but I don't know. Aren't you forever grateful that he came into your life?
Oh, well, yes, yes.
Oh,
It's taught me a lot.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
beyond compare.
Okay, so after that, there's a picture of Tyke. This is your Here's a picture of my best friend in all the world, Tyke. Tyke and I took the train to search for your treasure in Colorado this summer. And look at his face. We had the time of our lives. Yeah, he was taking all the scenery in, wasn't he?
Oh, he was as happy as anything.
Yeah. After we got home, I learned that Tyke had terminal cancer. As I write this, I'm about to lose my best friend, and I feel lost. Gosh, why did I say I was going to read this? How can I ever thank you enough for getting us on that train and creating a wonderful memory that will last into eternity for us? Words don't suffice, but my heart is full. Happy New Year, my dear Forrest Lee. Very nice.
Thank you. I was laughing at myself saying, here's one takeaway is that when you're grieving, whether it's for a family member or a beloved, animal, never write an email because it's going to come out like way too emotional. But, the fact of the matter is that I really felt that strong. First, that was like my little boy. I mean, that was my son,
Yeah.
and then, the trips that we took these crazy trips to try to find the treasure. Tyke was with me on multiple trips,
Uh-huh.
and we had the most fun each time. And like each time, we went somewhere different. And what I always do too is I would combine my search. Well, usually when I wouldn't find it, right, instead of being all depressed, I would combine it with seeing some other sites on the way.
Uh-huh.
So like that one year I was telling you, we went to Nebraska and stopped at Buffalo Bill Cody's house, and we actually camped there on the grounds. And I mean, that was one experience. That was, Tyke was with me there. That was fun, and just all the things that we did. Yeah, and so by the time I wrote this, I feel like my whole Tyke and my whole life had gotten so intertwined with Forrest and the search that I couldn't think of one without thinking of the other. So just the whole, it was so emotional. It was terrible.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. Okay, I'll carry on. Now to the next one. There's three of these. It says, Dear Forrest, thanks to you, we had 4 glorious Fenn trips. 2 were camping, in which we stopped at all sorts of fantastic places. Dodge City, the Daniel Boone National Forest, some reservations. We went to Pagosa Springs and camped out with my father, who is 3 months younger than you and a cancer survivor, in 38 degrees. And no, I did not think that where warm waters halt was Pagosa Springs. We just wanted to see it. I wish.
Coldest water I've ever felt in my life. But where we camped 30, I've never winter camped before. Word that was not hot. But not hot.
I wish I knew you better because I think we have many shared interests. I am around the same age as your daughters. My baby died on January 2nd. Now I have to finish the story that we started together, Lee.
And that was the problem. You had read that thinking that I had a child. My baby was taller.
Yes, your baby was Tyke.
About the age of 4 kids. My dad always came on the hunt with us here, and my dad is the same age as Forrest, born in the 1930s. So that was fun. So I felt like, wow, we're kind of parallel. Well, we're not too parallel, but you know what I mean. There was some things in common, and my dad was really interested in Forrest because of the fact that when Dad would read the reminiscences in his books, Dad goes, "Oh, I had such and such a thing, or I was, I did that," or so it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that, But what I regret was I never actually got to meet him. I didn't because we lived so far away. I didn't get to the Fenbury. Now, see, looking back on it now, I think to myself, why did I think the treasure was the treasure? The treasure was Forrest. I should have not looked for the treasure and come out to a Fenbury. That's what I should have done. And and I always wanted to see Forrest's Indian collection because I can identify Indian artifacts just by looking at them also.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what I mean, we would have had a ball. We would have had fun. So
Yeah.
I regret.
Well,
regret.
so
Yeah.
I know how you feel about that because I remember July 4th, 2019, I was on my second boots on the ground, and I didn't know about all these Femborees at the time. So after we were on the way back, um, is when I realized, I don't know how I figured this out. I don't know if it was like a YouTube thing or something, but I realized that Femboree was happening in Santa Fe. I was like, oh my gosh, this was a chance to meet the man that I'm searching for his treasure. And I was like, you know what? He would rather me be out there in wilderness than trying to visit him, you know?
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Well,
so
that's true.
I think he would rather us give those stories to him than, you know, than to be there in person, you know. But I know
Yeah.
he enjoyed people's stories right there in person, you know. It would have
Yeah.
been interesting just to interact with him, like, you know, if you've heard other people interact with him.
Yeah.
I never got that chance.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel the same way. It was difficult. I mean, it's difficult when you live so far away. And I was always a little envious when I heard about people that, well, you know, that are from New Mexico or Nevada, you know, places that are close enough to come in. And I, you know, and I would have to save all year long just to get to come out. And then I
Right.
could never get there long enough. You know, it was always like a rush trip in which I, you know, never found what I was looking for. And then I come back and I, you know, why didn't I just go down to Santa Fe?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
why didn't I do that?
Right.
Yeah. Well,
I know how you feel there.
yeah, it's terrible. We'll have our own club. It's
Yeah, so
we missed out club. Yeah.
well, I've told you the story about an article I read, and it was about a person who was writing a story about Forrest. And he said that Forrest kept boxes of letters and stories from searchers in his garage. And
Yeah.
I always thought that, wow, what if Shiloh's working on that?
Fun with it. Well,
That
I hope
would
not
that
because
would
I
that would
really
be
said our
awesome.
some of our letters. Let's not go there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would be pretty awesome, you know.
Yeah. 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 I don't know.
So I'm going to
I,
continue on. This is the third of the
I don't know.
it's just
Did I?
it was just three small ones. You were short and sweet and yeah, to the point. Yeah. The third one is, Dear Forrest, I wanted to send you two more pictures of Tyke to show you what a handsome fellow he was and what a sweet soul. He made friends wherever he went because he was so full of love and enthusiasm, and he thought that everyone was his friend. On our last two trips, we took the train, and he made friends with people in the station, other people in the sleeping car, the conductor. One girl I met on the train took pictures of Tyke and has them on her refrigerator. That's so cool.
Yeah. I was telling you before. At the time, I had a medical problem that led to a heart problem. So that's on the list of things that you can have to have a what do they call them? It's not a guard dog. What's it called? What's the word? Uh, you know, you can have a dog with you if you got a
Rescue
medical
dog.
problem.
Rescue dog?
So yeah, I feel like Forrest. Now my heart condition's got cured, darn it. So now I can't go on the train anymore with the dog. But at the time, you know, I had that, and one of the trips that I took, there was actually a guy who was on the Amtrak board of directors, and so we got to talking, and he said, "Is there any improvements you could think?" And I said, "Yeah, you should add one or two cars on the end of each train, and they could even be like old cars, you know, when you get the new ones in or something, and have those be animals only, and for not having to have a medical, you know, companion animal, just anything." And I said they would be booked solid. There would be people constantly. And I had a friend who was an actor, and he immediately said, "Oh, I would go on the dog, you know, with my dog." And he goes, "Well, I'll have to bring that up to the board of directors," but it never happened. And I think, you know, you're really missing out, Amtrak, because I think there's a lot of people especially if you had, just a compartment just for animals and people could take them on the sleeper car.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure they would do it. I'm sure it would get them so much business, but at least I was able to do I was able to do that. And at one point, I had somebody had opened my door when I'd gone off to the bathroom, and my dog was like happily going down the corridor, and the conductor was hysterical. Like he said, I thought I'd seen it all, but now I've really seen it all. I'm lucky they didn't throw me off. But so we had so much fun. That was like a whole nother adventure, And
Yeah,
the funny thing is, I had a picture plate on the train, and it said something like "Make every journey count." There was a brochure that sat there, and I thought, well, that's sort of like Forrest's motto, wasn't it? Make every journey count. And I didn't know that that was going to be kind of our last one, together, having
Yeah.
that kind of fun.
I'm getting ready to share that picture of him on the train.
Yeah,
So I'm going to share that one real quick.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a cute picture.
I know, it said it all, and I thought, boy, if that isn't Forrest's
Yeah.
motto,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that
That's
as well
good.
as you better stay home so they can ask them.
Yeah, that's tight there. Yeah. That's a good story I'm
Yeah, every ride counts.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
thought, now that is what Forrest did for us. Every ride counts.
Yeah.
And
I
Forrest
agree.
lived his life like every ride counts. And that's what we ought to do too. And that was Tyke. I didn't know he had cancer at the time in that picture, and
Uh-huh.
we had a blast on that trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, Woody Bug, a service dog, that was the word.
Yeah, service dog, yeah.
And
I saw that. I was thinking rescue dog, but I knew that wasn't right either.
Thank you, Larry.
So yeah, the train is if anybody's in the chat that hasn't ridden on a train before, took a trip, you should do it because I enjoyed it. I went from St. Louis to Chicago and absolutely loved it.
It's the best, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it again. It's just the people that we met on there was so nice and it's just so relaxing,
I think so too, and they're so friendly.
Yeah.
And it's I like to ride in the sleeper car like lying down. Like I don't want them to make up the bed because I want to just ride by lying down and eating the whole way across the country.
Right.
And I had a grandfather that I never met because he died. He worked on the railroad, and he died. He got somehow or other hit by the train, even though he worked on the train.
Oh wow.
And so to me, it was like, I don't know, it was a link with my grandfather. Like Forrest made all of this happen. It was just, I don't know, it was like my grandfather, my dad, Forrest, the dog, going on an adventure, hunting for treasure. I mean, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. Really, we were like hunting for a hidden treasure. That is nuts.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I love the whole thing. I love everything about it. I'm never gonna get over it.
Right. I was going to share one more picture, Tyke in the Woods. Got that one up. I'll share that one.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks like he's got his tongue hanging out like he's ready for some action, ready for a journey. Oh yeah.
And that one with the where every ride counts, he's grinning like the dog is grinning.
Yeah, I saw that. Noticed that. Well, Tyke's famous now. He's on YouTube.
Yeah, Tyke is famous. Isn't that nice? And that's my wood too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty.
I love that.
Do you ever find any arrowheads up in there or anything?
I didn't hear you. Like what?
Do you ever find any arrowheads or anything interesting?
I noticed one day I was standing on my property and I noticed that there was a darker spot on it. And I know that denotes maybe an old Indian site. And so I had an archaeologist come in and they actually did 2 summers of fieldwork excavations. I have a 5,000-year-old Indian village on my property, which I then got state listed. So yeah, that's a major place, and a lot of people have come in afterwards, just to kind of take a look at it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5,000. I mean, it's as old as the Egyptian pyramids. I had a site on my property. So
Cool.
and that one picture where we were, I'm not saying where we were, but that one where there's a stream that's
Uh-huh.
out west. I found an arrowhead right there. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I remember when you first said, "Oh, I want to do stuff about, people in the scrapbook," and I said,
Yeah.
"I'm in the scrapbook," and everyone's like, "Yeah, no, you're not in the scrapbook." I'm like, "No, everyone thinks they're in the scrapbook." I said, "No, I'm really in the scrapbook. Really, I'm not in the scrapbook, but my dog is." uh,
Well, you
anyway,
were too. I mean, you're in there too.
I didn't realize that. You wrote him a really long letter too.
Yes, I did. I wrote a long letter to him. Yeah. I'll get to that. I'll get to that someday. So yeah. Now I can't prove it's about me technically, but the timing is all a coincidence. Now I can't say that, but yeah. Now that would have been. I did get two email responses from him at the very end in August of 2020.
Oh,
So it was just like one word, just but that was enough for me. You know what I'm saying? I thought
yeah,
that was enough for me. So at least at least at the end I knew he, you know, was paying attention. And I'm sure he did for the most part with everybody.
yeah, yeah.
As best he could. I mean, if you're getting 100 emails a day, I mean, imagine doing that every day for 10 years.
Well, I know, and now I'm looking back, feeling guilty, like I corrupted the email. I didn't mean to. I didn't think I did, but apparently I did. But
Uh,
Bill says that Pagosa Springs is over 1,000 feet deep. Good grief! I didn't know that. So I
wow.
didn't even fall in. But I tell you, when I camped there, it was none too warm, and it was still the Pagosa River.
Uh-huh.
But at that point, it was not. It was not warm. I mean, it snowed actually.
Uh-huh. Yeah, what month was that you said?
Well, I'm trying to think now. It wasn't that late. I'm trying to think now. I feel like it was. I feel like it was. Maybe it was early September. It might have been September.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weather is so different in the Rockies.
Well, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah.
It can take you by surprise real quick.
We were out there one of my search trips was in June, and I thought that's summer here by now. I mean, I'm in New York; it's still summer here,
Uh,
and we had a huge snow squall come through. I couldn't believe it. This is June, and I had nothing. Luckily, I had taken a blanket, that just in the car with me, and so I got pictures of us like wrapped with a blanket all around us, trying to. I'm in the middle of a snowstorm looking for treasure in a blanket.
uh,
June, and I'm in shorts. It was horrible. Why didn't they warn us that it snows in June in the Rocky Mountains, right? Uh,
I'm just typing in the chat real quick. You can keep talking if you want. I'm listening. I'm just not
well,
very good at multitasking when it comes to typing and talking at the same time.
yeah,
I mean, then I start typing what I'm saying,
yeah.
or what I'm saying is what I was trying to type.
I've done that too. I'll have a client on the phone, and I will. Somebody will say something, and I'll type something to them, and it doesn't make any sense at all, and they'll write back and go, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, yeah.
uh, just a little eccentric. Hmm.
So if anybody out there in the chat, I was going to type it in there, but I'm just going to say it. I don't know why I was trying to type it for, but that's all right. So if anybody in the chat is listening, or if you listen to this video later and you weren't in chat, hit me up. If there's a scrapbook out there that was like Lee, this one was definitely about her. Bill was on a couple of weeks ago, and he shared the Chili Supper scrapbook 219. kind of, giving his opinion of what he felt was speaking to him in that scrapbook. Um, just hit me up. My email's right there on my YouTube. If you'd like to come on and share a favorite scrapbook, or maybe it's like a story like Lee's got here where it was actually about her, and feel free to do that because I think that's what people would like to hear more of. Maybe,
Now you're
maybe,
getting like you're channeling Forrest, huh?
maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I was going to tell you, oh, I completely forgot to share something with you, Lee. This is perfect time. I'm glad I remember this. So I reached out to Dale before I started this, and told him that I was going to be using his uh, scrapbook screenshots that he shared with everybody. And I said, I just want to make sure it's okay that I share those on my YouTube channel because I wanted to use yours. And he said, yes, sure. Feel free to do whatever you want with them. So I did get his okay on that.
That was nice.
So
Yeah.
at the same time, I reached out to him about the book from the Lumi library. So yeah, so I asked him some questions in about those.
What
And
did he say?
I wanted to share that with you. And let me find. I've been holding this back until this day. I'm glad I remembered because I almost forgot it. I've got to find it. Let's see. Let's see.
See, when I got that book out of the library, I realized that I'm turning into Forrest too.
Uh,
Because all of a sudden I realized, Forrest had this in his hands and now it's got value. And then Dale had it in his hands, Dale, and now it's got value because, I know him through Forrest. And I'm sitting here going, I'm just like, I've turned into Forrest. I'm morphing right into Forrest because now I want this book because they had it.
I hope they could still hear you because I'm sorry. I moved the phone, so if for some reason you don't hear Lee, just show us in the chat or something. But because I moved my phone because I'm trying to look this up for Lee. So so I've told Dale, I said, I have a picture up about the book that was donated to Lumi Library by Forrest. 17. Oh, wait a minute. Next. Oh, I said I had a video up about the book that was donated to the Lumi Library by Forrest, $17 a square inch. We discussed how Forrest made a couple of the L's look like C's and emphasized the S in island, along with the stick figures. We like how he said, my Eric. Do you have any thoughts to share on that? So Dale says, I don't remember what he wrote inside the book. If I read what he wrote, I never noticed the irregularities that you point out. I was there when he signed the books, but nothing stands out as a shared joke or messages that he intended. So I'm on no use in explaining why things might look different. So that's what he said.
I
And
think
then I sent him a picture of it that you sent me, and he says, looks normal to me, is what he says.
no way. But as far as the my Eric or our my Eric, and I'm
Uh,
sitting here thinking, that's as emotional as my letter to him. We somehow or other, like I said, we've all become him. We've all become like maybe living life to the very fullest. So he's got my Eric, and I've got my dear Forrest, and we all
yeah,
be getting to be the same.
yeah, yeah. So okay, Larry put in chat says, Lee, did I see correctly that Scrapbook was released on January 22nd? Yes, that's correct. It was January
Yeah.
22nd. And did I hear correctly? You lost Tyke on January 2nd? Is that right?
Because I actually think he died on New Year's Day. I think he died on the first.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I know the story was the second,
Yeah.
and then the
That
scrapbook was
was
only
awesome.
22nd.
Yeah.
Okay, Larry's probably trying to put numbers together on there. You know how
Yeah, yeah.
people in the
Maybe.
chase look at numbers and
I know. I don't know. think he died on the first,
Yeah.
and then maybe I wrote him on the second, but yeah, then he released it on the 22nd.
Uh-huh. So Dale says, looks normal to me after I showed him the picture that you sent me. Says Forrest got bored with signing books, so sometimes he made flourishes to make them more fun to sign. And the cartoon just represents the stage of the chase at the time. Someone chasing someone else who has the chest, just meant to be funny. The My Eric statement was to do with making certain that they knew which Eric he was referring to. Eric in the
Yeah.
Eric in this book says,
Other Eric.
yeah, he says, at any rate, I don't see anything particular or leading in this signature or inscription. Where did you find that book? Did you get the other books he sent to the library as well? So anyway,
Oh.
yeah, pretty interesting. So here's the last part of the story that Dale's going to share with me. You'll like this. It says, I never realized they lent the books out beyond the island. The backstory is that I asked Forrest for a set of books for the Loomy Island Library. Forrest agreed and laughed about becoming famous on Loomy Island. He put together one of each of his books and piled them on top of his kitchen table. I asked if he would inscribe them. He said he'd be happy to do that, and I believe he inscribed each one. I had I had driven to Forest via Yellowstone on that trip and returned home via Yellowstone again. When I got home, I took the books over to the library and handed them to Brooke, our librarian, and she was very happy to have them. She knew about Forrest and the chase because I had given presentations at most of the libraries in the WCLS system on treasure hunting, which included Forrest Treasure Hunt. So those books have been in Forrest's house and in his hands and in Esmeralda and at Yellowstone with 100. Okay, so and Yellowstone within 100 yards of the chest and in my house. So they have traveled a bit.
Did you tell him that I was already in awe over the fact that and now they've been in my house with my woodchuck and my squirrel.
And the list goes on. So that's funny that you're talking about this because so now I think so it would have been cool if you could have like slipped some pictures in there in the book. I don't know if they would have stayed in there or not, but it would have been funny if we all of us searchers would rip that book out and put little pictures in there.
Oh, that would be great.
Share along. I don't think it would make it. It would probably they would fall out. They would probably take them out.
Fun to be able to send around something, and I'd love to have that. Would
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So I've
You'd
been
have to make 3 of them though, because everybody would want one.
right, right.
Telling you, we've become him. We've become Forrest. Bad.
Well, that is, I do things now and I'm like, why am I doing this? I didn't ever used to do this for. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
It's part of the chase, It's what I've learned from the chase,
I love it.
It's like when
I love it.
like when I have my nephews with me and if we're outside or doing something and we find a leaf that's unique or huge in size or just an interesting looking rock, I'm like, okay, now go home, keep this and write down where you got it at and keep that all together. Someday it might be important to you.
That's a pride. It really does. That's incredible.
So yeah,
He touched so many people. I just can't get over it.
yeah.
I can't. Do you ever think also, like, the Superstition Mountain treasure? You know how, all the people that were searching for that in the 1800s. Do you realize how we've become part of the story? Like 100 years from now, if somebody talks about the Forrest Fenn treasure,
Oh
we
yeah.
were part of the gang that was part of it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's like a Forrest thing too, right?
Yeah.
We're forever bound to him in that way too.
Right, right. I was watching Expedition Unknown, Josh Gates. And the other, I can't remember what the story was, but they were looking for a treasure overseas, and it was along the beach, along the shore. And so they were looking, you know, like there were some cliffs, and they were looking up into like the caves that run along the cliffs in the ocean. And they were looking along the um the beachfront. And I'm like, did they ever take in consideration that the ocean probably wasn't where the ocean is now?
But
It's in
yeah,
a different spot, meaning like it's probably like 10 or 15 feet below where it is now.
yeah.
So where they're searching at is probably not the ideal place where they should be searching.
No, maybe you could go over and
It's all
the right
underwater.
spot.
I have this feeling it's probably all underwater.
I thought that even with the forest thing, I would go and I would say, you know, the ground does not look disturbed here, so I'm not in the right spot. And then I'd think, well, wait a minute, it was like 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it doesn't look disturbed anymore. It's been so because we haven't found it, and that's how come now the ground doesn't even look disturbed. So we don't even have that to help us at this point, you know?
Yeah. Well, I remember my first boots on the ground. So, I mean, I had people with me. I had my brother, my sister, my son, and his girlfriend, and my wife. And I remember getting there, and everybody's looking at me like, "Well, what are we supposed to do?" I'm like, "We'll start looking on the ground." And they're like,
Look around.
I
Yeah,
said, I, I said, turn logs over, flip over rocks. I don't know. It's been 10 years. Who knows what Mother Nature did?
right, right. Yeah,
And then I was thinking to myself, we were there for a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, this is like finding a needle in a haystack.
well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, this is a pinprick in a huge area.
uh,
Uh,
oh man,
it was fun though.
I
I
couldn't
wouldn't.
help no that.
Tyke didn't help you.
No,
Well, you
at one
didn't.
point though, Tyke comes running out with an elk antler. Like, oh, that's really cool.
You should have trained him to sniff bronze.
Yes, yes. I didn't realize dogs could sniff bronze at that point.
So a strange story about that, Lee. So I did. I can't remember if I knew it at the time. I think I did, but I kind of had forgotten it. But Justin's dog I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly because I had one of these dogs years ago. My girlfriend that I had at the time wanted this dog really bad, and it was a Vizsla.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's how I've always pronounced it as
Is it?
A
I
Vizsla.
would, but I don't
Vizsla.
know.
It might be Vizsla, but I always pronounced it Vizsla. Anyway, I had kind of forgotten that story. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had one of those dogs, man. If I just, know more about that dog, I could have done the same
And then
thing.
we all missed our chance. We had run sniffing dogs of our own.
But that was a long, long time ago.
Yeah,
That's when I was young and dumb.
yeah.
But
Uh,
that dog used to bark all the time. I finally had to get rid of it because I lived in an apartment, and that dog would just bark all the time.
that's
So
sad.
I told my girlfriend, she wasn't living with me. She was living at home. And I was like, either you're going to take the dog or I'm going to have to sell it.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, even though
We had a dog.
I hated to
We had
get,
a dog in town, and the
uh-huh.
people had got it from us. We went to get the dog, and before we got there, somebody beat us to it and got it.
Oh,
And then about 3 days later, the pound called us and said, "Do you still want it?" Because they brought it back because it won't bark. It won't bark at strangers. So we had this dog forever, but it was true. The dog would never bark when somebody came up to the house. But when the dog was having fun and having a good time, the dog would bark its head off. But when somebody came and he wanted it to, help you out a little, the dog was mute. Maybe your Vizsla was the same way. Like maybe the dog only barked when it was having fun, and which doesn't help you if you're in an apartment, does it?
no, that didn't help at all. Well, Lee, I think we've wrapped it up. So I'm gonna.
Bye.
Oh,
That just adds to the whole thing. Well, thank you. Thank you for helping me relive fight tonight. I
yeah,
needed that.
yeah. I mean, these are the kind of stories that I've been saying that people, you know, I would hope they would like to talk about it. I hope I get some more people reach out to me.
Yeah.
I
I'd like to
think,
hear other people's stories. I would.
yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, or even if the scrapbook's not technically about them, but they think it's about them and they want to share that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got one of those stories that eventually sometime down the road, I'll share that.
I'd like to hear it. I would.
Yeah,
So I can't. I hope you do it soon.
yeah, yeah. So
So,
anyway, well, we'll get off here in a minute.
well, thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks everybody in
Um,
chat for stopping in. I'm gonna just type a little thing in here and then I'll stop the stream. Just stay on, Lee. Stay here with me. I saw Jason in here a while ago. He waved.
hi, Jason. Thank you, Larry.
And Bill was in here. I didn't do a very good paying attention to chat. Davy B was in here, Kid, Tim's Adventures. I saw a couple others. It was in here too. Oh, I didn't spell that right. Go back. I'm just typing in chat. Sorry. Moisturize. There's moisturize. I don't think I saw moisturize earlier.
Didn't see you.
Moisturize.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hi to that person.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for
Night.
stopping in. Remember, hit me up by email if you want to come on and share a story with us.